We're going to move into nail guns. Right here, we got a pneumatic nail gun. This is a little brad nailer, so I will get one of those. Here we have a little brad nailer. This shoots little 18 gauge nails. So if I can see, each one of those little lines is a nail. They are really small. These are designed for trim work, or you tack a board until the glue dries up, or just tack it in place so you can screw it. So this is going to be used for trim stuff, little details, furniture making. And so it's pneumatic, so it's air powered, so you can see the end. You connect your air hose to that to change the nails or add more nails. It has a release, it opens up, put your nails in, you slide it forward, and then it has a safety on it. All pneumatic nail guns, well actually just all nail guns are going to have some kind of safety. And so this kind, some of them, this sticks out already, the safety, and you have to engage it. I'll show you with the framing nailer. Let me zoom in. So when you're using a framing nailer, I'll show you it's different. This one's a reverse safety, and so that when you squeeze the trigger, if that part pops out, it won't fire a nail. But you put pressure on it, right? Put pressure and squeeze it. Now the safety is engaged, and that'll shoot a nail if I was hooked up. All right? And so these are handy because it's to help save your material. You don't have to push as hard on it so you don't dent your trim work. And so that's how it works. So the safety is you have to push the tip down and then squeeze and it'll fire. If you get a jam, different ones have different ways to do it. This one's pretty a simple jam. All you have to do is pick that up, because usually the jam happens right at the tip and you can fix it easy. And so that is the basic of a little brad nailer. Now we have this in cordless battery version, which is awesome. And so we won't really be breaking these out in class, but if you did, or on a job site, lots of times people are still using pneumatic. That's the basic function. Now newer ones, you don't need to put oil in them. Old nail guns, you would need to put little drips of oil in this to just keep everything running smoothly, the pistons and stuff that fire the nail gun. So that is your little pneumatic nail gun. Now framing nail gun, I'm going to show you the battery version. And so nail guns are all the same, just different sizes, different nails. So this is our framer. And so if you remember, this is battery powered, awesome new tool. It is heavy, pneumatic framing nail guns. Since these are so heavy and kind of big, they haven't been replaced yet by battery, but the technology is getting there. Pretty soon, I bet we won't even need pneumatic nail guns. But anyways, so your safety, if you remember when we were talking about the little brad nailer, that safety on it, it had the tip that you had to push it, and then when it didn't come out, when you squeeze the trigger, that was the safety, right? Now this one is reversed. You have to push the tip in, so you put it into your material, you have to push it in first. After you do that, that engages it, so now you're able to fire. And so this one is you have to push forward first and then do it. And why they do that is, you notice that this one has like pointed teeth on it, because when you're framing, you don't want it to slide off. You don't care about putting dents in it because it's your framing. And so it's designed so you can ram it into the board, it won't slide around, and you can shoot your trigger. And so that's how this one works, the safety. Now these guns, this one you can change between bump fire mode and regular fire. Safest is regular fire, which means you have to push it, squeeze the trigger, reset, pull it away, push it, squeeze the trigger again. So bump fire, what that means is you can just hold the trigger in, and then you just keep, every time you engage the tip, it's going to shoot a nail. And so if you're nailing off sheeting, which is where you're just firing a bunch of nails because it's like a 8-inch or 6-inch nail pattern, you're doing a whole bunch of nails, you can just move faster because you can just walk up your board, keep nailing. But in general, that's not as safe because you're more likely to shoot a double nail or ricochet and hit somebody else. So the safest way in general, always just keep it on single fire mode. There's all kinds of different ways that people disengage safeties. They'll lock the trigger in place and then they leave it on bump fire mode. So every time it hits, it is going to fire a nail. And so what happens is people shoot themselves in the leg because they're walking and it's hanging on their tool belt, and then the tip hits their leg and then it shoots them, or they're climbing a ladder or something. So don't disengage any of the safeties. Keep it off of bump fire mode. That is the safest way. The amount of time it saves, people are like, well, it's more efficient. It's not worth the risk. So keep it single fire. It's not that much more work. You can do it. Your finger doesn't get tired. Your finger is able to pull the trigger. It's all right. So putting the nails in, they're all a little different. These ones, you just slide it in the back. This is kind of framing nail gun, pretty standard. You slide it in the back, and then you squeeze and you let it go. Sometimes you can pull those back and it locks into place. You slide the nails in and then you release it. Different ways, it's basically the same process. All right, so that is your framing nailer. We also have one that instead of nail strips, it holds basically a coil of nails. It looks like a barrel. Think of the old machine guns that have the big barrel on the side. And so that just holds a whole lot more nails. It's more efficient. They're a little heavier. But there's a way. So that is a pneumatic nail gun. And so just be careful. And when you're shooting these things, pay attention to who's on the other side of the wall. So lots of times the sheeting is only a ½ inch thick. A nail can go right through that. And so what happens if say you're nailing off a wall, here's a wall, and you're nailing on this side, and your stud's over here, and you have somebody working. If you miss that stud, because you thought you were there and you missed it, that nail can shoot right through and hit the person on the other side. And so be aware of who's around you. Keep your fingers at least 12 inches away from the tip of the gun as you're doing it. So the board that you're holding, keep your hand away because those nails can ricochet, hit you in the fingers. Right? Most accidents on a job site are falling probably, and then like around building houses and stuff, people shoot themselves with nail guns all the time by accident. So make sure you're keeping your hands away and wear safety glasses. Those nails can ricochet. It's not worth hitting you in the eye. And so wear safety glasses, not just sunglasses. A framing nail is going to go right through a regular pair of sunglasses. Safety glasses, it'll actually stop the nail. And so make sure you're being safe. And then for the test, it wants you to know when you're using a nail gun, just read the safety manual. Before any tools in general, make sure you're just trained and know how to use it. And so it's just saying read the instruction manual so you know what you're doing. So the next thing we're talking about, this is a powder actuated nail gun. This is super cool because this uses I don't know if you saw it, it was like smoke coming out the end. What's cool is actually, I'll say smoke does come out the end because this fires a nail into concrete or into steel, depending on your situation, with a bullet. It's going to get one of those bullets. And so it uses a 22 gauge hard bullet cartridge. And so if you see, I'm trying to hold it so small, but this is a bullet cartridge. And so what makes this different than a bullet that you shoot out of a gun is a bullet isn't actually, this is just the casing. The bullet would sit on the end of this, and that's what gets propelled by the gunpowder. So this is a casing for a bullet without that metal tip. And so this is just the gunpowder basically. And so what you do is you put this in the gun, and so you put it in here, and there's an empty shell already in it. So you put it in there, and you slide it back, and now it's not ready to fire yet, but you're going to treat this thing like a gun, right? As a bullet actuated, so you don't want to squeeze the trigger. But there's a safety. You have to engage the tip to work the safety on it. And so you do that, and then these special nails have a washer, and that's so the nail doesn't just shoot right through everything. And it has this little rubber part, so what that little rubber part does is it makes it so it just stays in the end of the gun, so it doesn't slide around. And you push this tip into your surface and squeeze the trigger, and it shoots it off like a gun. It's going to use gunpowder at pressure to shoot the nail right through the wood, right into the concrete, or into the steel even, into like a steel beam, which is awesome. It's crazy. And so that's what this is used for. And so you want to make sure you're definitely trained with one of these because it is like using a gun, right? So you don't want to just show up and just try to figure it out on your own and wing it. You're going to make sure you're trained on how to use one. So that is a powder actuated gun, right? And so it's using gunpowder to shoot the nail. They make ones that have, instead of single file nails, there's like a magazine almost of nails, so you can go through one at a time. But you got to pump it like a shotgun. They're super fun to use. You feel like a Western movie, like Clint Eastwood or something. That is a powder actuated nail gun. You go smaller again. I'm going to go back to slides. Here's that again. So here's one that has the bullets in like the magazine. You have to you only can single time the nails. If you look here, so these are the nails that go into like your concrete or steel. And also you can do this, and then you can connect a bolt to it, which is cool. There's different ways you can connect these things. And there's a different tool, but different style.